Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back, LRVS 2022. We are super excited about our next speaker, Mr. Bryan Bieschke. I hope I pronounced that right. Bryan is the maintenance and reliability leader at Bowery Farming, and he's got an interesting topic with a great title, Maintaining Humans. Before I introduce Bryan, I just want a quick reminder, be sure to check the code on the screen to redeem your points on the LRVS Game Challenge. And here's Bryan. And Bryan, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Hey, did your intro. Platform is yours. And when you bring up your PowerPoint, I will share the screen and we are good to go. Thank you, Bryan.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay. Can you see the screen? Just want to make sure that everybody can see this and hear me okay. All right. Okay, Bob, thank you. Sorry, I'm not getting any feedback. All right. So, Lubrication and Reliability Virtual Summit 2022. I'm excited. I've watched a few things today on here and had my mind blown a few times about lubricants in space and all those types of things. I'm not going to go into very technical lubrication centric things, but I am going to speak to the reliability side of things and ultimately the holistic functions of maintenance as it pertains to humans. So yeah. And 1 second, sorry. Why can I not see my screen anymore? I can't see my screen. Okay, sorry. All right, maintaining human. My goal here is to help align and maybe explain some odd or different ways to look at building culture and relationships and structures within your maintenance and reliability functions or departments, or if you're an individual contributor and you're trying to break into a leadership position or something like that, right? So it's really just about how do we connect and position ourselves to where we can best facilitate success for the human, right? It's the intricacies of the person is what I'm after. And this is my unique name of maintaining human. I think it fits. So the areas of exploration that we're going to look at today is 5. And these are my names that what I call them. You may have another name for them or have never heard these things before. But this is kind of how the 5 core things that I attribute to when I walk into a maintenance program or facility and I'm the new manager or I'm the new leader or whatever. These are the 5 things that I try to pay attention to. which is status preservation. People trying to maintain their grasp and their footing and where they are, and maybe be a little resistant to change. Literally working through problems. So going out there and turning the wrenches and communicating and building trust and experience with the people who you work for and with. Priority correlation between maintenance and humans. So how do we draw correlations and linking that known to that unknown, or that unknown to that known, with our team, so that we can start to have some mutual understanding and drive our maintenance and reliability culture. And then maintenance perception. So how do we view ourselves in the maintenance function, and how do others view us? So it's kind of an abstract thing, and the drawing that I did is kind of goofy, but I think it's going to play out pretty well. And then what's first when you're building a maintenance team? What kind of things can we use that are fundamental and systematic, that will create scalability? We can actually have sustained value, as opposed to just short-term increases in whatever we're measuring. So the first example is status preservation. And there's no one better to talk about than myself, because I know me pretty well now. Back in the day when this picture was taken, I did not. So status preservation is something that I like to call for. It's that natural ego. It's the thing that says, I'm this, I'm that, and this is why. So we all probably know someone, and I encourage you to think about personal experiences and draw correlations to your own personal and professional issues or processes or things that you're going through, as I'm speaking about mine or each individual slide. So me, I was this in the service, and before the service, I went into the Navy already having technical and mechanical aptitude. I was put with people who maybe were not so much, and I thought I was the bee's knees. I thought because I knew more, I had had been educated in machines. I was the guy who everyone went to. I was the one. So all of that culture and all of those things that I was doing and building and being a part of were just reinforcing this status preservation. I was trying to hold on to my status, so that no one would change what I was doing or challenge me, or try to change up my position in the hierarchy. And it's no secret that in a lot of maintenance facilities and within trades, that there's a known hierarchy. We may say that we have technicians and electricians and people who are at different levels, but if you really look into the group and get into the nitty-gritty of the intricacies of the group, there's a known hierarchy in that group. Who's the guy? Who's the guy who knows this? Who's the guy who does that? Who's the guy that can get over on this? So these are the things that I wanted to talk about. And like I said, I used me because I was this person. I thought I was the best. I thought being the technical expert was all you needed to do. And I was solely wrong. And my next slide is a process that was used on me and I use now to help control this and help build people into more functional and cross-functional parts of our teams and employees. So yeah, that's me at 20 years old. All right, so how can we help? The biggest, most important thing you can do is you build trust. However you have to do it, build trust. Without it, we have very little. And this means action. There's a common theme in this. Trust is a common theme amongst this entire presentation. So action is a very important word. It stands out because sitting behind a desk, it's hard to build trust with teams of people who are all over your facility. So acting and building trust. And then we want to give ownership. If you're particular employees like I was, where I was creating a divide and saying, oh, I'm not going to listen to you. You've never done this. I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. We need to give ownership. Ownership is extremely important. You're giving somebody something to own. Now they can champion it. You can help them champion it, right? And then we want to have measurable outcomes for that ownership. So they can own it, but you define it. And we define it based on the business or the individual growth needs or the strengths, the weaknesses. You know, I had a chief in the Navy. I was responsible for a large crane on the flight deck. I thought I knew everything about it because I was the best. And the chief at the time, there was an issue with the tagline transformers that wouldn't allow the taglines to operate. I didn't understand why they were bad, hence why they weren't fixed. But I always talked about how they needed to be fixed. We needed to figure this out, blah, blah. Well, he told me to own it. It was now mine. He defined it and I owned it. And I had to work through with people, building trust, building relationships to try to get these things figured out. I learned a lot. And it was a measurable outcome for me. He knew where my strengths and my weaknesses were, and we could gauge from there and further build our relationship and build my ability to perform my function. And then there was having accountability. And it's big for me and for him. And it's good for you and whoever you're working with, right? It keeps us honest. It's saying, these are the expectations. This is the accountability for the expectations. This is my part. This is your part. And then we start to further build trust. So it's a big cycle, right? And then in the center there, as you can see, it's communicate every step of the way, communicate often and with good intent. It's extremely valuable and beneficial to the organization and to your mutual relationships and growth. So status preservation, I was the best example for that because I know me decently well now. So the next is priority correlation. And this is kind of that linking that known to that unknown that we talked about in the beginning. And it's basically saying technicians are people and they have a life and they have things that are very important to them. And they have things that matter more than work. And that everyone's trying to look at what's in it for me, right? And I wanted to try to draw some correlations here and how maintenance and the priorities and the intricacies of life and those things can be combined. You can actually use examples from your everyday life to help drive the decisions, the culture, the thought process surrounding maintenance. I didn't get crazy with this, but on the next slide, I just have a handful of questions, and I've used these, and I recommend you use these or create your own. But these are things that when I'm wandering the plants or the facilities, and we're talking about reliability, we're talking about precision, we're talking about culture, these are the things that I try to bring up because it's something that everybody has experienced, and it has a direct line to something that pertains to maintenance or reliability. So I like this one a lot. The second one's my favorite, but you just paid someone to install a new roof and now it's leaking. Do you leave it alone? I like to say this to technicians all the time. It's like, we're here doing a job. We are being paid for our labor, for our skills. We do a good job. We get recognized for that good job and we move on, right? But if we don't do a good job at work, or we skip a step, or we don't follow our procedures, or we don't, do the necessary things to have a good quality repair or installation or troubleshooting, what happens? Is it okay for me to just be okay with it because we're not going to do a good job? Well, if the roles were flipped and you were paying somebody to work on your home, are you just going to let them not do a good job? And then you're just good with it because you paid them and it's fine? It's kind of the same thing, right? And then my favorite is, if this asset was an airplane, would you fly in it? I ask technicians this all the time, especially with bad actors or machines that everybody has and we know that aren't maintained to the standard that they should be. Things get missed. And you say, hey, if you were staking your life on this asset based on the inputs that we as a maintenance department or you as a technician or whatever have done with this machine, would you fly in it? Are you that sure that the maintenance that we're performing is to standard? Is it quality? Is it thinking with long-term effects in mind? Are you thinking with your human error reduction? All these types of things. And then the last two are really just correlations to precision maintenance, excuse me, and fluid analysis and condition monitoring and things. We don't want to be alerted to things and then not do anything about them, right? If we're generating service off of fluid analysis or vibration, like we want to take those things seriously and we want to investigate and we want to have a process to see those things to completion. And I know these two at the bottom seem kind of very personal, but sometimes they get the point across. So I just wanted to add them in there. Like I said, this is just a very off the wall thought process that I have with a lot of these types of things. And I apologize if I can't see your questions because I'm trying to look at this at once. Oh my God, did we lose the session? People are talking. Sorry. All right. Pull this back up. All right. What's first? What's important when we're in our pursuit of fundamental maintenance culture, and how can we make it sustainable? What can we do to keep things rolling in the proper direction? And I like to call this the vision value. Um, Having your vision, whether it's a local vision, a departmental vision, a company vision, having a vision is so important. And then having that vision be aligned to all the value and the things that are going to have a value stream and sustained value. So that's what I like to say here is the vision value. And the next slide is basically my dart plot of all the 4 categories that I believe are genuine in building fundamental maintenance culture. You may have your own, and that's totally okay. All I'm trying to do is have some thought provoking here. So 4 main topics for me with building culture: fundamental, from the start, or coming in and changing things on the go; precision, communication, connection, and growth. And you'll notice in the middle here that trust is the underlier in the majority of the things that we do as people, as colleagues, as professionals, as leaders, as mentors, in all relationships. Trust is paramount. So some of these things on this plot here may look further away or closer to the bullseye, and we all may have a different understanding of where these things should be on this plot, right? But really, I just wanted to look at it holistically and show that these basic things, when communicated, when connected to, when provided with vision, can help really build the groundwork for a sustainable maintenance culture. The ones that stand out to me in each category for precision is surely RAM, reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety. So designing, right? And then human error reduction techniques is huge. I know where I come from, hurt is a big issue. For communication, we want to communicate our expectations and our intent. We want people to know that we mean what we say, and we say what we mean. And the expectations are paramount because people need to be able to align themselves with these expectations. And then they need to have the ability to follow through with those things. And if you don't know the expectations, it's hard to be a part of something and then work towards a common goal. For connection, one big thing is know them. If people have heard me talk, I always say this: know your team, know the individual, know the name, know the personality, know the anything you can know, anything they're willing to share with you, and be present in listening to those things. And then it's our jobs as leaders, or whatever capacity we're in, is to connect ourselves to the team and then the team to the business. If people know where they stand, where they belong, where they may seem their task is very not important, it's probably more important than they think, right? And it's our job to draw those connections for them. And then for growth, 2 of my favorites are create the vision, right? And then plant the seeds. Start seed planting everywhere you go. Talk to people. Ask people about their ambitions, their growth opportunities. What do they want to do? Where do they want to be? Even if it involves them not being with you or your employee or working with you, even if it means outside of the business, we have to plant seeds, foster growth, and create opportunity. So this one's an important one to me because I'm consciously trying to think about a lot of these things and line them up to the individual person, which is tough when you have a lot of people that either work for you or with you, and you're trying to, cultivate growth and all these different types of things, from an asset to a person, right? But these are of extreme value, and I take pretty serious in trying to drive these types of things. Okay, maintenance perception. This is where I get a little bit trippy, but I think you'll get it. So how can perception shape maintenance culture? So when I say perception, I'm generally thinking, and the always thing comes to my mind is like, a technician is out in the plant and he has his tablet and he sits down in a chair and he's doing something on his tablet, and someone walks by They're not a part of the maintenance department. They don't know the intricacies of the maintenance department or maybe the operation. They see a guy sitting down. The perception of that, especially in an environment where no one's sitting down and they're all on a production floor working, is that person's probably taking a break, or he's lazy, he's not working, or maybe there's a group of people standing around and he's the only one sitting down. These perceptions can start to shape the way we view ourselves and others view us. And I say that because on my next slide, stay with me, okay? It's not about what you're doing. It's about what it looks like you're doing, right? My little pictograph here on the left, one eye is a maintenance person, the other eye is an outside observer, right? We're looking at a chair. Well, the outside observer has no frame of reference. They're not a part of the intricacies of our department or the things that we're doing. So it's up to them and how they perceive the situation, the chair, anything, where they draw their conclusions and their outcomes. Meanwhile, maintenance, or us, we know the things that we're doing. We know exactly what the chair is, but it doesn't matter because we're not in alignment with the person who's the outside observer at this point in time, right? So if someone knows nothing about my department, what is likely to stand out to them? I say this to myself every day at work when I'm walking around the plant or the facility. I'm looking at things and I'm going, what does that look like to me? What would that look like to this person? So keep in your mind when you're trying to drive cultural change is, how are things being perceived? And what can we do to ensure that that perception has some sort of alignment or some sort of understanding to the bigger picture or the particular people, right? And then ultimately, the outcome would be that the observer and maintenance communicate. You communicate the reality. Hey, we just implemented a CMMS program. It's technician driven. It's on the tablets. So the guys are going to need a couple minutes when they're opening their corrective work orders to ensure they have the right information, that they're opening and closing them and time stamping them. So if you see the guys sitting down, or if you see them, kind of on their tablet by a machine before or after a repair, this is why. So we establish alignment and understanding, right? I've communicated, this is the reality. This is why you're perceiving what you're perceiving. This is the understanding of why it's happening. And then ask lots of questions. Do you have any questions? If you have, if you notice that it's being excessive, or that guys are taking advantage of X, or if whatever, the situation circumstances could be endless, right? But ask questions. Try to create that line of communication of the reality of what's happening, so that we can have a common perception of what's happening. So as you can see, when we come together, we go, oh my God, that's a chair. Plain and simple. We communicate, and then we observe, and then we know what the outcome is. So I was a little nervous about this slide. It made sense in my head. So let me know what you think about that one. Okay. This is one of my favorite ones. It's actually something recently I just started doing, and it was on such a whim. But before I do this, I'm going to jump back to the live chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Awesome. Sorry. Not my forte, guys. I appreciate it though. Literally working through problems. Like I said, if someone has this coined or marketed or whatever, awesome. It's just something I've been thinking about, and I've been implemented on accident. So I'll tell you a story. I was working as maintenance manager, and I had a technician who was a fantastic technician, not outspoken, kind of laid low. He kept to himself. He was respected by the group. But he saw a lot of things that I didn't see. He had a lot of perspective about the department that I wasn't privy to, because of course I'm not around all the time. So he understood the intricacies of it and the dichotomy between people and all of these things. And if I approached him directly, he would kind of shut off. He didn't want to be the point of attention. He didn't want to come off as if he was ratting people out or, bringing up things that might not matter. So just by happenstance, he was working on a machine, I happened to come down to the shop, saw him working on the machine, started giving him a hand. We started talking about nothing, about machines, about, family stuff, just started talking, just a genuine conversation. So then he started to open up to me. We started to talk about uh, the issues that he was seeing in the shop. They came very fluid. They came very unforced. I didn't bring them up. We started talking. We started making references, and he started talking about the issues. And um, it was a crazy thing that transpired. And at the end of it, I couldn't believe that the sole action of me going to this person, helping them work, we're working alongside each other, having a mutual experience, we're building trust. He's opening up to me, and then he's allowed himself to communicate the things he wanted to communicate to me. It's a mutually beneficial situation. I'm learning about someone. His guard is down. He's being genuine with me. We're building a relationship. Trust is building. And then we're able to forge our alignment and get to the point of problems. And, problems are opportunity. And he had a problem, and we saw the opportunity at the end of it. And we're able to put proper corrections in place to make sure that the things that he was experiencing that are valid, were not plaguing the department anymore or causing issues. And it was wild to me. And now I do it. I did it again at my new job. When I have certain situations where it's hard to get information or really understand the root of a problem, because the people doing the work know what's wrong. They know it. They always say, like, if you want to get the answer to a question, go to the people who do the work. So if you're sitting in your office and you're banging your head off your wall trying to figure something out, and it pertains to someone out on the floor, go out on the floor. And there's all different ways to connect with people. But I just thought this was a unique way, and it just came from nothing. So now I try to use it. A lot of you know me. I'm a hands-on person, and I'll be working with people, and we will have conversations, and things will come to fruition, and we will communicate things that otherwise probably wouldn't have been communicated. And then there's opportunity there, and then we build trust, alignment, and just goes on and on and on. So I really, really, really challenge and hope that you guys take some of this and try to leverage it. I'm merely just trying to provoke thought. I just want people to know that there's all different types of ways to look at things. There's all different types of ways to try to create your culture, and it's going to be unique to business, to people, to everything, right? So it's really up to you. I just kind of wanted to glob it into some sort of readable, comprehensible way, because sometimes in my head I'm a thinker, so I don't know if it's always coming out the way that I want it to. But this is kind of how I think about it. This particular, literally working through problems, is we have, in my opinion, trust and alignment could be either top or bottom, right? Whatever. But my opinion for this particular is trust is your foundation, right? Everything's built from it, or should be built on trust. However you go to achieve trust building in relationships, I recommend that that be the paramount of the conversation, is or the idea is to try to build trust. And the second is communicating. So in this time of working through problems, we're talking about them. They come up. And the best way to solve problems, the first step, is to start talking about it. And it's very unforced. It was very genuine, and it opens up communication. It lets this person know they can communicate to me. They can talk to me. And maybe next time it won't be during working. It will be, hey, man, I have this problem. I'd really like to talk about it. So we don't know. The possibilities are endless. But if you don't communicate, you're not going to get to solving any problems. Another important piece here is sharing an experience. Those of you who've been in the military or have had very stressful jobs where you're working in a team, the bonds that you build with people through challenge and through experience are immeasurable. I have guys that I worked on the flight deck with, an aircraft carrier, that are more friends to me than friends I've known for 20 years that I haven't, right? It's the experience, the shared experience, that can really, really forge and build relationships, and of course, trust. And then understanding. Problem resolution in action can build mutual understanding. I put an emphasis on action, like I did earlier, is the very act of seeking out a technician or a colleague to be involved in what they're doing and working side by side with them can create a lot of opportunity for understanding, whether it be in what you're working on, or in my case, other things that, you know, that this person had on their chest they wanted to talk about. So the opportunities of understanding are endless. And then ultimately, we want to have alignment. We want to make sure that things that we put in place for our departments, for our business, for our growth are in alignment with the big picture. And that could be a person being in alignment with the big picture, a person being alignment to just a small process like a CMMS implementation or a new reliability strategy, right? But the key takeaway, for at least in my opinion, for this is that problems create opportunity. And this young man had a problem, and it created an opportunity. There's no two ways about it. It created a great opportunity for an open line of communication, a genuine. And I say genuine a lot because it's easy to force a conversation and have no meaning and value behind it. But it was very genuine, and it was an opportunity that I wasn't willing to ignore. I think I went kind of fast, but these are things
Hey, right.
really like. What's up? I'm done.
Yeah, we just got to free up the space. And you had a couple comments, and I think you got into Bob Latino's heady financial minded executives comment and everything. But we do have to conclude this, unfortunately.
Sure.
We're right at the time, and this was awesome. Also, well, we didn't have time, but you brought up a little thing about your Bowery farming, and well, this sounds interesting, but another time too. That was sounded kind of cool. But
yeah, if anybody has anything, they can message me. Please do. I am open. I will communicate. I know we got to go. I'm sorry I missed your thing. I'm not good at the PowerPoint and the slide sharing thing. I apologize.
It was awesome, Bryan. Seriously, there's some great comments.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thanks for attending, man. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. See ya.
Okay, bye-bye.